Hello, welcome to another episode of Cards Unbarred. My name's Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to show you the 2 to 3 player game Matching for You, designed by Takanori Yamaguchi. And as you can see, this is a tiny, cute little box, and this game probably has one of the silliest themes I have seen as of recently. You are all playing girls who are trying to go on dates with boys. But the problem is you don't have the proper clothing or accessories to go on these dates to look cute enough. So you're borrowing those clothes and accessories from the other girls in town. And I just think that's a very fun, cute theme. And whenever I'm teaching this game, the first thing I always do is refer to it as if Brian Boru and Trick and Trade had a baby. So Brian Boru and Trick and Trade are both trick-taking games. And the DNA in this game is shared from Brian Boru almost exactly for the deck makeup and the way the card drafting works. And then the set collection piece from Trick and Trade is almost exactly the same, and the may follow aspect. So both of those games are games that I really enjoy. So seeing a game that mashes those two together and puts it in a little tiny box and distills the gameplay into about 15 to 20 minutes had me really interested. So let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck makeup in Matching for You consists of 24 item cards, numbered 1 through 24, and there are 7 yellow, red, and blue cards, and 3 white cards. The game also comes with 8 date cards, 3 of them which are worth negative points, and 5 of them which are worth positive points. Taking a closer look at the cards themselves, there are a few things I want to point out here. The first thing is in the top left corner, you'll see the number for the card itself. So in this case, we're looking at the 1, but the circle around the number itself is a gauge that tells you the strength of that card within that suit. So the number 1 card that we're looking at here is the lowest card in the yellow suit. But if we take a look at something like the 11, you'll see that it has 4 bars, so it is the 4th highest card within that yellow suit. And then taking a look at the 23, the entire bar is filled in, so it is the highest card within that suit. Taking a look at the white suit here, you can see the gauge around the number is still there, but there's only 3 barred sections because there are only 3 cards in the white suit. So the 16 has 1 of the bars filled in, so it's the lowest within that suit. Now I'll go into the scoring of each card in more detail a little bit later, but I just wanted to go over that the bottom part of the card will show you the set collection piece for that specific type of card and how it scores. So just showing you a few different examples of the cards now with their scoring criteria at the bottom. And then in the top right hand corner shows you the number of icons for that symbol and how many it will count towards scoring. Typically there's only ever 1 icon, except for the diamond rings. Those can have 1, 2, or 3 on it. And to finally show you the date cards, these have on the left hand side the date points that they're worth, as well as any potential icons for one of the scoring symbols at the end of the game. The date cards that have positive points will always have an additional symbol, and all cards that are negative points don't have any symbols on them. To set up for a game of Matching for You, first determine a start player. The start player will be the person who most recently went on a date. That player will then shuffle all item cards face down and deal out 8 cards to each player. Next, shuffle the date cards face down and place them in the center of the table, leaving it face down, creating the date deck. A game of Matching for You will last 3 rounds, and within 1 round, there are 3 phases: the card drafting phase, the playing cards phase, and the calculate score phase. Starting with the card drafting phase, all players will look at the 8 item cards they have been dealt, select 2 of them, and then place those 2 cards face down in front of them. After that, they'll pass any of the remaining cards in their hand to the player on their left face down. This is all happening simultaneously. As players are drafting their cards, they can look at the cards they've already drafted. However, they must keep those cards. They can't put them back in their hand and exchange them with other cards. Once you've drafted a card, that is going to be one of your 8 cards for the round. Repeat this process until all players have 8 cards face down in front of them. After all 8 cards have been drafted, you then go to the playing cards phase, which consists of 2 steps: the presentation of items and the acquiring of items. The starting player will turn over the top card of the date deck and place it face up so everyone can see it. Then, starting with that first player and going clockwise, each player will play 1 item card face up from their hand in front of themselves. So the blue player will look at their hand and choose to play any 1 card. And let's say they go with this blue 19. Matching for you is a may follow trick taker. So you can play any card from your hand regardless of what the lead card was. But there will be strength that's determined based on what that lead card is itself. So the green player is going to choose to play this 11 yellow. And the yellow player will play their 24 blue. After all players have played a single card, you look to see the strength of all 3 cards. You must rank them from first to last. So the blue 24 is the highest card in play, since it was the highest of the lead suit, so it is ranked first. The 19 blue is the second highest, so it ranks second. And the yellow 11 is offsuit, so it automatically goes into third place. So the yellow player wins the trick, and they will take the card from the date deck and put it face up in front of them. And they now can acquire any one of the 3 items that was played into the trick. They do not have to pick their own. And in this case, there are 2 shoes in here. The color of the card itself doesn't matter in the set collection phase. It's just the items themselves. So these 2 cards don't actually make a difference, so they'll just take their own. It then comes to the blue player, who gets to pick one of the 2 remaining cards, and they will choose to take the other shoes. So that means the last dress goes to the green player. The winner of the last trick will lead the next trick, and they will flip the top card of the date deck over and then play any 1 card from their hand. So going over white cards here, if a player plays a white card into the trick, it is treated as the same color as any of the previously played cards. Unless there aren't any, meaning the yellow player would lead with this card, then it's treated as the white color and it is ranked lower than all other colors in the trick. So they could choose to play that now. Coming to the yellow player, if they wanted to play this red 22, it then comes to the blue player, and they could choose to play a yellow or red card, a yellow or blue card, and they will already be ranked second in the trick because this white card is treated lower than all other colors. So knowing that they're already going to lose the trick to this one, maybe they want to play the 1 yellow. The winner of the trick is green, since they have the highest of that lead color. So they are going to take the card from the date deck, placing it in front of them, and they get to pick any one of these cards that were played into the trick. They will take the tickets. The person in second gets to be the blue player, and they will choose one of these remaining 2 cards. They will take the diamond, which leaves the perfume for the yellow player. We will then flip the next date card over, and the green player would play the next trick. And trick play will continue like this until all 8 cards have been played. And at that point, the date deck will be empty, and all players will have 8 cards face up in front of them, and the date cards depending on how many tricks they won. And at that point, you will then go to the calculating score phase. Players will calculate their score by adding up all of their positive points, and they will subtract all of their negative points. You'll keep track of your score using pen and paper or any suitable substitute, and then you'll shuffle the deck and re-deal 8 cards to all players, and reshuffle the date deck, placing it in the center of the table, creating a new date deck, and play 2 more rounds. At the end of 3 rounds, whoever has the most points wins. The scoring for each card is as follows. If you collect 0 girl cards, you will get minus 10 points. If you have exactly 1 of them, you will get 0 points. And if you have 2 or more of them, you will get minus 5 points. Clothes are worth 2 points apiece for each one that you have. And if you manage to get a perfume to go along with those clothes, you will multiply the clothes by 4. So instead of scoring 2 points, it will score 8 points. Each perfume can only be used for one piece of clothing. So if you had 2 clothes and only 1 perfume, just the one would score 8, the other one would score 2 points. This is a good time to remind you that the date deck cards do have icons as well. So if you have any of those icons in front of you, they will count for you. So if you had this, the perfume could go towards those clothes. The bags have an escalating amount of points. If you have 1, you'll score 1 point, 2 scores you 4, 3 scores you 9, and 4 scores you 16. The rings is for a first and second place majority. The rules didn't explicitly state what happens in a tie, but whoever has the most amount of rings at the end of the round will score 6 points. The second most will score 2. On these cards, they do have different number of icons, so that's the number you actually count when you calculate how many diamonds you have. So if this was in front of a player, they'd have 5 diamonds in their total. Next up are the shoes. When looking at the shoes, it's all about the icon itself. This one can be a little confusing because you score for pairs of shoes, and while the icon itself is a pair in it, it's actually only a single icon. So as you can see on the picture, 1 icon is worth -3 points, but if you have 2 of them, you'd score 7 points. So in this case, this would be a total of 7. If you had this, you'd score +7, but then lose 3 points here for a total of 4. And lastly, we have the Aquarium tickets. These are worth 2 points per date card you have collected during trick play. If you have both of them, then each date card would be worth 4 additional points. So if you had this card and both Aquarium tickets, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. There are rules for 2 players. Most of the game is exactly the same. The only difference is during the card drafting phase, the 8 cards the dummy has, they're just going to pick 2 cards at random and then pass the cards on. The cards that get passed to them, they'll choose another 2 random from there until they have their 8 set of random cards. And then during the trick play, when they play cards from their hand of 8, they're just going to play a random card from there. All of these cards that are chosen randomly can be determined by either one of the 2 players in the game, as you don't actually know what you're playing. But the trick resolution is resolved exactly the same. The rules also don't state what happens when a white card is played by a dummy player, as far as which color it would choose. So I would assume they would always choose to pick the lead color whenever the date deck has a positive point card, but if it's a negative point card, they would choose the non-lead player color. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Matching for You. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching.